All right, so Season 12 introduces brand new support hero Juno, new game mode Clash, which includes maps Hanaoka and Throne of Anubis, inspired by Hanamura and Temple of Anubis, hero mastery updates for Zarya and Pharah, the long-awaited 15 avoid slots, a new spawn system called Wave Respawn to help with one-sided matches and teammate staggering, flashpoint changes that now give you a speed boost out of spawn, another rank reset, which as of now is planned every 6 months, the ability to see how a skin is before buying it in the shop, and a bunch of hero updates, which we will go over right now.
One small step at a time.
For the developer comments for the hero updates, they say our recent 2.11.1 patch, which adjusted all the tank heroes, a significant gain in interest for the role, and had a positive lasting effect in queue times for damage and supports as well. We're moving a handful of heroes to a 225 HP maximum, and in some cases increasing potency elsewhere in their kit. Very interesting, because mobile heroes have always been an issue in Overwatch. You generally see it as you go up in the ranks. The mobile heroes can lose a little bit of the value, but you hear a lot about how, you know, they'll have a Pharah running around bronze annihilated, right? And that was one of the recent heroes they had made an HP change to, which probably inspired them to make the rest of these changes.
What do we have here?
Starting off with tanks, we have our most obvious nerf. Everybody saw it coming. D.Va is nerfed. Maximum duration on defense matrix reduced back down to 3 seconds, which definitely kind of go back into struggling a little bit more against certain comps. And I also think this makes a clear winner in Winston. Obviously, D.Va will still have the ability to go for squishies, but now you have a little bit less uptime in your defense matrix, which is going to make it a little bit harder to get that same value. They made a change going into Season 12. We all expected that. Next change we have here, Orisa. They made Energy Javelin go from 60 damage to 80 now. I'm okay with it. A lot of the issue we've had with Orisa was with the rest of the kit, so making Javelin have a little bit more damage and the ability to follow up on a really good Javelin, it sounds fine to me. This is Orisa's win rate is not doing well. Let's give Orisa something without putting Orisa back to where Orisa was. And then, I did mention this is a surprise buff. The reason why this is a surprise is I feel like a lot of players feel like this hero runs wild in their ranks. And this is also why D.Va, I think, is going to keep struggling. Zarya has been buffed, but they now have taken the secondary fire damage, increased it from 47 to 55, and they made the secondary fire maximum damage increase from 95 to 110. So what this means is your right click does more damage now. You go, well, why would that be a problem for D.Va? Well, here's the thing. I do like the power going into the right click because I've always said that the right click for Zarya is really strong, but it obviously doesn't help D.Va. And that also is why I mentioned Winston, because who's the one really good counter against Zarya? Winston. We'll see how it goes. I don't really expect any nerfs from this going into midseason from Zarya, but obviously that will be based off how the win rates are. Now we're kind of on to a different one now. And this is a change that I think it's going to be interesting because I actually don't know how it's going to play. Junkrat is kind of getting a major change. Frag launcher. Projectile size is now reduced by half after the second ricochet. Projectiles preserve slightly more velocity on the ricochet. So yes, you heard that right. The size off of the first bounce is now going to be half of that size. Essentially what this means is like, you're going to get less spam damage happening to you, which is good because sometimes spam damage can feel bad, but this could solve that issue in the sense that Junkrat will still be able to be strong, but won't be as ridiculous to feel like you're playing against it. I'm not saying that Junkrat was in a spot where Junkrat's winning every game, but it's the feeling sometimes in Overwatch that can, you know, dictate some of these changes. And I think the feeling of going up against a Junkrat and getting rolled by that random spam sometimes felt tough. Simple change here for Echo. Echo's base health reduced from 250 to 225. I mean, that's obvious with what they said at the beginning. They're just making mobile heroes have 225 HP. Saw it with Pharah. Now it's with Echo. Sombra's base health is also reduced to 225. So I didn't know if they would include Sombra as one of those mobile heroes, but Sombra now has 225 HP. They also changed stealth. Bonus movement speed increased from 45 to 60%. So now when you're stealth, you're just faster. Sounds great for the Sombra. We'll see how it feels for the supports. And then the virus impact damage was increased from 25 to 35. Expect to see a bit more Sombra in your games. Changes to Sojourn, and this is to the railgun. The primary fire weapon spread reduced from 2 to 1.6 degrees. Basically, your weapon spread is just reduced, so it's easier to hit your shots when you're shooting your primary fire, not your railgun. The critical hits now grant 10 energy, so you're going to get a little bit more energy uptime when you're shooting the critical hits. Energy degeneration rate reduced from 33 to 15 per second after 7 seconds. So a lot of this is because if you've played Sojourn recently, Sojourn is clearly much weaker. So what they're trying to do is put a little bit more value into the railgun right now because the railgun has become more of the focus on the kit. Yes, the right clicks are still pretty good in certain situations, but it clearly made a huge difference when they made those changes previously in the previous season. Hanzo got the base health reduced from 250 to 225. While there is no other changes to Hanzo, keep in mind a lot of the heroes going down to 225 kind of re-enables that possibility of a one-shot for Hanzo. As many know, shooting the 250 HP hero was never fun for Hanzo when you headshot somebody and you see them at low HP, and with the consistency of a projectile, you couldn't follow up as easy as, let's say, other heroes. So Hanzo pretty much gets a direct buff. I could say indirect, but gets a direct buff to everything that's 225 HP now. For Hanzo players, you get a little bit of a win going into this patch. Torb had base health reduced from 250 to 225, but the base armor increased to 75. Torb has such a large hitbox that, like, if you don't give Torb a little bit of that extra, like, armor, then Torb would fall over a lot. They're just basically shifting the armor into, like, the reduced HP. So Juno, as you know, is new, added to the lineup this season, and Juno, you were able to actually play Juno. How many times can I say Juno? In a playtest. So first of all, the number one question people have, outside of the nerfs or the buffs, is Juno will be in comp. Yes. The question is, will Juno be in comp right away? Yes, Juno will be in comp right away. Base HP has also been reduced to 225, so Juno had 250 HP. In the playtest, now has 225 HP. Hyper Ring, the deploy range was increased by 3.5 meters, and the cooldown was reduced from 16 to 14 seconds. So put a little bit more value into the Hyper Ring, a little bit more of that utility, a little bit more uptime. I'm not too worried about this. I think that might be something they revisit later in the future, but as players are learning the kit, I think it's okay with that. The Pulsar Torpedo's damage and healing impact increased from 75 to 85, and the heal over time reduced from 60 to 50. So what they're doing here is they're putting a little bit more into, like, the direct impact right away, rather than, like, and then with the heal over time, they're basically just compensating for the change they made to 85. So a little bit less of the heal over time, more burst heal right away. The Orbital Ray, the beam travel speed was increased from 1.9 to 2.25 meters per second. Basically, it just goes faster. So now you can be more involved in the team fight. It felt like sometimes when that giant orbital ray was moving, you were waiting on it a lot of the time. Now it's just going to go faster, so you got to keep up with it. But when Juno's in the game, you're probably going to be going faster a lot. Anyway, then we have Medi Blaster. The burst projectile volley rate of fire reduced from 34 to 28 shots per second. I want to see how that goes. It feels like that's just going to be a nerf overall to Juno. I mean, it is, but, like, this is one of those things where there's so many, like, compensating buffs and nerfs in this, like, change that I don't know how that's going to feel until we play the hero, right? We haven't played the hero since the playtest, so I don't really know how that will feel. I imagine Juno will still be good, but we'll see how it goes overall. Kiriko. Kiriko has HP reduced from 250 to 225, but a little bit of a change to how the kunais work now. So apparently with the kunais, the critical multiplier reduced from 2.5 to 2 times. So as of right now, each shot is 112.5 damage, which means that if it was a 225 HP hero, you would two-shot the hero still. But then they've now increased the damage from 45 to 60. So now, if you do 60 times 2 on the new multiplier, it actually does 120 damage now per headshot. So actually, I'm pretty sure that would be a buff to the damage. You would just do more critical damage on headshots now, which definitely is going to be interesting. And the 45 damage to 60 means that you're now doing 60 damage to anybody you hit, even if it's not a headshot, instead of the 45. So overall, you're getting a damage buff here. And then the recovery time increased from 0.5 to 0.55 seconds. So there's a little bit of timing on the recovery, which might compensate for some of that. You're going to be rewarded now if you don't hit a lot of headshots. Like, just in general, you're going to get more damage output in. On top of that, if you do hit headshots, you can do a little bit more damage than you did before. We'll see how it goes. Apparently, and according to the dev comments, they say that the hero consistently underperforms, which is, it's surprising because Kiriko is strong, but I think they're trying to make it so it's a little bit easier to do damage output. Now we're on to Illari. Solar Rifle, maximum ammo reduced from 16 to 14. I'm not surprised by this. Illari's been kind of dominating certain ranks where you just sit on an off angle, do a bunch of damage, and even with the pylon nerf, it didn't make much of a difference. And then Captive Sun, the projectile environment collision size reduced from 0.15 to 0 meters. A lot of what they're trying to do here is make it so you don't accidentally hit random walls. A lot of the time you would, like, go to shoot it, but because the projectile size, the environmental collision was, like, larger, it would just kind of, like, hit a wall. Glad they looked at Illari a little bit there. I still think Illari will be good, even with the 16 to 14 bullets, because a lot of Illaris are reloaded before they even do that. So I don't know what to expect. We'll see. Maybe some of Illari's fine, or maybe that's something they address midseason. All right, the next hero here, I'm going to read it off, but keep in mind, there is a buff here. Mercy. Mercy's base health reduced from 250 to 225. I know. It already feels like you can get Mercy, you know, as a Mercy player, people are able to follow up a bit more. the same time, mobile hero, right? There's a lot of back and forth. Mercies might have a lot of survivability in a lot of ranks. But on top of that, your primary fire healing has been increased from 55 to 60. I don't even know why they say primary fire healing, because like it's just your left click. But yeah, you now have 60 HPS now. On top of that, and I do have a little bit of concern about this. I don't know how it's going to cause issues or this, and some might agree or disagree with it, but the damage boost has been increased from 25% to 30%. We'll see how that goes. Anytime I hear damage boost increase, it's always a concern in general, just because more damage generally leads to breakpoint issues, but I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't done the math on the breakpoint, so we'll see. Could be fine, and just could even things out and make Mercy feel better. Moira, the base health has been reduced to 225, another one of those mobile heroes we were mentioning. On top of that, though, the Biotic Grasp damage has been increased from 60 to 65. So when you right-click now, you do a little bit more damage. Lucio players, you're going to be happy. The base health reduced from 250 to 225. I know, once again, they're reducing HP, but your primary fire damage is increased from 18 to 22 again. So you're doing a lot more damage. Actually, I don't even remember what the previous one was, so it might even been like lower than that. But yes, you're back up from 18 damage to 22 now. So obviously, you're just doing more damage. Next, we have Lifeweaver, and this is actually the last balance change that we have. So pedal platform, duration only counts down while the platform is raised. The platform now resets if no one is standing on it for 2 seconds. So let's say it's up in the air already, and then people get off of it, it will actually reset down if nobody's on it. The duration has been increased from 10 to 12 seconds, and the health has been reduced to make up for this uptime. So before it was like, once your platform went up, that was it. It was wasted, right? Now it's more like when your platform goes up, there's a chance it comes back down. You can get more uptime. There's more duration to it. The trade-off is that it has less HP. Heal and Blossom can now charge passively at a reduced rate. And it also no longer reduces movement speed when holding a full charge. Pretty big change to Lifeweaver is when you would hold your charge as Lifeweaver and prep a heal, you would slow down. Well, guess what? Now you go full speed. One more thing, though. There's a slight nerf. The Rejuvenate and Dash healing has been reduced from 60 to 45. You could argue that other changes have made up for that. So a little bit more difficult to deal with people on you, but you're still going to probably be fine. And especially with the platform changes, you can probably use your pedal a bit more. So it'll be interesting to see, but they're definitely focusing on making Lifeweaver feel even more fun. I do think they've done a good job of making Lifeweaver a lot better over season since the release last year, which obviously didn't go as planned. So I'm happy to see that. And yeah, so this is a very, very feature-heavy patch. And as we explained at the beginning, there's a lot of new things coming. So I'm excited for it. Season 12, it looks like it's going to be good. Balance, it's always going to be like a 50-50 on how it's going to feel. So we'll get a little bit more into detail, maybe do another video on that later on. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the way we did the patch video this time. Let me know what you think. Seriously, I want to know more feedback. I want to be able to give you better quality patch note videos rather than just reading the post and then being like, I can read this. Do plan on having a video out soon, which would be the top 5 winners. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be top 5 winners because of a hero we saw in the patch notes. Like, some heroes benefit greatly from some of these nerfs that maybe previously weren't played and didn't even get a buff or a nerf, but benefit greatly from this. So look out for that video. If you like this video, like the channel. Subscribe to the YouTube, leave a comment, all of it helps. Hope you all enjoy, and I hope you all have an amazing day/night.